before we get going. We have quite a few things to chat about, and also leaving plenty of time for any of your questions at the end, as always. So first, just a reminder that we are brought to you by the Office of University of Benson Protocol. Laura and I, the account admins here at Aventri, here to assist you and answer all of your Aventri related questions. But first, we just wanted to start off with a few announcements. Well, first, this is our agenda for today, things we're going to cover. Start with a few announcements, and then we're going to go into what we thought would be a good idea to start with a back to school refresher, some things to remember as you are using Aventri, things you may have forgotten over the summer or the last time you used Aventri. Just want to make sure we're all on the same page. And then something that's cropped up recently, I thought I would do a demo for everyone. We've had a question on how can you do video on demand sessions in the Aventri virtual events platform. I'll go through and show you how you can do that. And then again, sort of same as the back to school refresher, we're going to start a new section where we thought we would just take a look at one aspect of Aventri just to show you all the bells and whistles of that one feature. And of course, if you've been in Aventri for a while, you know that they pack a lot of features into their system. And as I said, at the end, we'll have time for your questions on anything Aventri related. To get us started, many times people ask us about what's going on with the Aventri contract. Is ASU committed to Aventri for now or forever? As some of you may know, actually, we ended our first 5-year contract August 31st. We've been using Aventri for 5 years now, over 5 years. And I am happy to report that, yes, we have renewed the contract for Aventri for another 5 years, and we continue to get it financially supported by ASU administration. So we thank them for their support, their continuing support. All the there's no new features with the system. It's just the same as you have here, full access to the Aventri event management platform, mobile apps on demand if you want to pay for premium services, the abstracts module. All of that we have renewed for another 5 years. So hip, hip, hooray there. Next, another announcement for those of you who have used the Salesforce templates that we have. These are special event registration sites that we have created to integrate with Salesforce. If you are using those, we have created updated templates to version 4.1.2, both for our gold template, which is used when you're pulling data from Salesforce that exists in Salesforce, or the maroon template, which is actually two-way communication. It can create new information, new contacts in Salesforce from within Aventri. We have updated this, and we have already distributed to all units who had previously requested these Salesforce templates. So if you go into that location, to remind you, there's inside the 01 ASU templates folder, you will find a 02 Salesforce templates folder. You will find the latest version, 4.1.2, in that folder. And that brings it up to parity with our standard ASU templates as far as having URL masking turned on by default, using the theme editor, etc. That is now ready to go. And if you like, you can now clone that and use it for any Salesforce events moving forward. Okay. And something also to let you know, we have, for 5 years, we've had a form on ServiceNow for requesting new user accounts. Hopefully you're familiar with that. And we've added some new features to that form to address some issues that have cropped up over the past 5 years, including now you can request to have a user deactivated. So if someone is leaving your team or you are moving on to outside ASU, you can now request to have your user account deactivated. It's going to ask who you are and what date that's in effect. You can also now request a transfer of your unit account. So if you move from one ASU unit to another, you can now submit a request on this form to tell us who your new unit is and what date that is effective. So just helping us continue to manage the users of Aventri here at ASU. And over in the right column, I'm just again reminding you what this ServiceNow form can do. Request new user accounts. Again, these new features of account deactivations or account transfers. If you just have a question on a consultation with Laura and I, that's one place you can request it. You want to add the, talk about the Aventri virtual event platform, abstracts module, mobile apps, Salesforce integration requests. Those are also handled by that form. And the quick link there is shown on the screen, the links.asu.edu/Aventri. Okay. Moving on. We're still creating the schedule for these, but we wanted to give you a little peek as to what webinars we will be offering this term. We will be offering the Aventri Essentials, our quick start 1-hour webinar to get you up and going into Aventri. We will also be offering a webinar on the marketing module, which we have offered previously. I'm not sure if we offered it last spring, but I know we offered it during the summer. And what's new this year, we're going to be taking something we did this summer and breaking it into smaller bite-sized pieces. This past summer, we offered for the first time what we called our Master Class Series. And this was an all-day series of webinars to dive deep into the Aventri registration module. Now, we figured we could do an all-day webinar in the summertime. Harder to do that for folks, we think, in the academic year. So what we're going to do is I'm going to break down the site builder component into 3 or 4 webinars so people can pick and choose which ones they want to attend. And again, these are deep dives into these features. And finally, we'll have a webinar on what we call Event Manager. And that's really the reporting features available in registration, all the bells and whistles that don't necessarily have to deal with your site running as a registration site, but that you would use for reporting purposes or for check-in or for making badges, that kind of thing. So we're offering a special webinar on that. And like I said, I wish we could announce it was open now, but it's going to be opening next week. We will post the schedule. We will open the registration site next week, and we will announce when that registration site is open on our Aventri Slack channel. So before we dive into some of our articles and demos, are there any questions about any of those announcements? Feel free to unmute your mic or just post a question in the chat. Okay, hearing none and seeing none. Let's continue on to our back to school refresher course. And Laura, what do you have in store for us?
You think after how many years now that wouldn't be a problem anymore?
No.
Steve, it's not letting me share, so I think you're going to have to unshare first.
I know what I did.
Okay.
Hang on. Try that.
Now we're good. All right. Thank you, sir.
Mm-hmm.
So welcome back, everybody. And I hope the light at the end of the tunnel is not an approaching train. It sort of feels like it to me sometimes in the fall when we're just getting back and getting started. I want to review with you just a few things, things that we often see pop up for users. Steve and I get copied on all of the help desk tickets that go to Aventri, and it kind of helps guide our training a little bit. So we saw some things that made us think that maybe we just needed to quick review some things for people coming back and getting back into Aventri as the schedules start getting busier. And the first thing is the logging in process. What we get is we get a lot of questions about, excuse me, we get a lot of questions about what happens and how to log in. And then they think they try to log in several times and they get a message that their user account's been deactivated. And so we get a lot of those kinds of tickets. And what we want to remind you is that 99% of the time you're logging in using your SSO, which is single sign-on, right? So there are several ways to do that. And one of my favorite ways is to come to the Aventri at ASU.edu site that we have and use this lovely little yellow button, and it will tell you how to, oh, my apologies, and it will push you right into signing on, just like this. And there I am, all signed in. Now, if you walk away from your computer for a few minutes, 30 minutes actually, or say you get a phone call or you're on a Zoom and you're in the middle of a project, Aventri will sign you out. And sometimes when it signs you out from the SSO, what will appear on your screen is this lovely blue Aventri sign in. This is not the screen you want. If you click login here, what will happen is it will not recognize you. And that's when you get that message that you're going to be restricted from your account. What you really want to do is ignore that, go back to that aventri.asu.edu and click there. There is your favorite login to your Aventri user account. Now, one of the other things that we need to remind you, and something that we see sometimes with users who haven't been in a while, is that we have developed templates for your use that help you maintain the ASU brand standards, that answers a lot of the questions. We've done a lot of the work for you so that you only have to modify it to fit your event. And what happens is a lot of people forget that and they see the big blue shiny button and they think create new event. Well, that's what I'm doing. I'll click that button. Just as a friendly reminder from me, as always, my very favorite saying for Aventri is don't push the big blue button. What you want to do instead is you want to go to your folders and you want to find your college of really cool ideas or whatever your unit name is, and then you're going to go to the brand template folder. Now, what it'll look like usually is like this, right? You'll get your folder, you need to click the plus button, and then you can have all the folders, the subfolders that might be associated with your unit. And here we have the brand template, so I'm going to click on that. And there is the template of what we want, right? This is what we're using. This has all the brand standard colors and pictures and logos. It answers a lot of the questions, gives you sort of the basic template that we think most ASU event planners use. When you click the big blue button, what you're really getting is the Aventri template. It has a lot more questions that you have to kind of figure out, a lot more back-end work that you have to do to get your event set up. It has none of the ASU colors and branding or logos. So it's really valuable for you to use this template. And a reminder that you don't want to just use this template, because if you use this template, it's not a template anymore. You want to clone this template using the clone event button. Looks like the copy button on some computer systems. And you want to clone that, rename your event, right? And then put it in the correct folder. Now, I've already done that in preparation to show you a few other things in my event called Back to School. Okay, so a few other things we want to show you or remind you about using Aventri is that there is a valuable look and feel tools that you can look at, and that's over here in the look and feel, right? So if you scroll over look and feel and go to theme editor, takes a minute to load, sorry. here we are. You can see, because I've used our template, right? We have all of the nice, we have the logos. It has all of the ASU look and feel. And it has this background picture. And how did we get that background picture? Well, we have several themes that we have already developed for you that you can use that require no work on your part, okay? And one of those themes is ASU Innovation, which is what this picture is. What other themes do we have? Well, let me show you. We have a football theme. So if you're doing something for football, you can have that theme. It takes a minute, okay? So you can see that theme here, all right? Nice little spirited football theme, all right? We have just a basic maroon gradient. It's plain, but works for us, all right? We have the Old Main theme, something that I use a lot because that's the building I live in, all right? We have a salute to service that you can use. It's just already built in. And the solid gray background, okay? So whatever theme you want to use, you can do that. You can also use your own. You can create your own background picture. And that's another one of those areas where I really encourage you to come back to the Aventri at asu.edu once you're signed in. And I apologize, I thought I was already signed in. Oh, there I am. Once you're signed in, there's a user guide and how to, all right? So how do you add an image? Okay, how do you convert? How do you change the background? This is the one you want to use. And if you go here, there's a step-by-step process with a video that Steve has put together to show you how to create your background image or change your header images, okay? There's lots of usability here at this site, and we really encourage you to remind yourself what and how is available to you. A lot of questions we get that we see that go to Aventri are actually already answered here in this web page. So you can save yourself some time if you come here before you go to support. Okay. And one of the other things that we see a lot in Aventri in the support tickets is we see a lot of people panicking because they've set up their event. Usually they've cloned it from an older event, and they go to save and stay, and especially if they're working on their event emails, and all of a sudden it says, sorry, you can't do that. The reason for that is because there is a new system, it's called DMARC. And that DMARC is really just an ASU security system requirement for all third-party email systems, of which Aventri is one. And it's just a little extra something that tells ASU servers that the emails coming from this third party are legit, okay, and not junk or phishing. And that little extra thing is this little extra teeny tiny little A that happens in the from emails. So when you're filling this out, you're going to fill it out as normal, right? You're going to put in your email address, and our email address for the College of Really Cool Ideas is CRRCI, all right, at asu.edu, but we've added that little extra A. So what happens if we don't have that A? Let me show you. This is the message that people get that they get concerned about, and that gets tickets both to us and to Aventri support. So what you're going to say is, okay, just all you have to do is you add that little A. Now if you save and stay, it'll let you go through. Now you don't need to do it on your reply to emails. It's only the from emails that you need to add that little extra A. So if you ever get that little message saying that that domain is not permitted, it just means that you have run afoul of the DMARC and you just have forgotten to add that little extra A, okay? One of the other questions we get is, we get a lot of questions about how do we pay for an event? How do we use Aventri to collect money? There are several ways you can do that. But one of the things that Aventri is most famous for, or one of the items that we use Aventri for, that Merchant Services approves, is to take credit card payments. But to take credit card payments, you don't use the word credit card. You use a system called QuickPay. All right. So when you're setting up your system, there are 3 steps. First of all, you need to make sure that your department has a QuickPay account. And just like Steve was showing you about the ServiceNow changes, one of those requests that you can ask in there is for a QuickPay account. Okay, so you go to ServiceNow and you search QuickPay, or if you search Aventri, one of those, that item will pop up for you, and you just need to fill that out. If your school already has a QuickPay account, then you're in good stead. You do need to know that requesting a QuickPay account can take up to 2 to 4 weeks. That is not delay on ASU's part. That's delay at the bank. Okay, as the bank takes its time to process their part of the QuickPay process, and then they get it back to us, and then ASU merchants and us then get that back into the system as quickly as possible. If you have an emergent event and you've got to take credit cards right away, do contact us. We do have some workarounds, but we don't use them very often except for really special circumstances. So do make sure that you put that in your timeline, that if you need a QuickPay account and your department does not already have one, that you need to request one ASAP. Okay. And not only do you need to use it for when you take credit cards in your for your events, but you also need to get a special account for actually refunding those accounts. So just because your department has an account and you can use it as you're setting up your event, if all of a sudden maybe the event cancels or a particular individual cancels, if you're allowing that and they request a refund, you actually have to have a special permission. ASU has no problem with you accepting money, but when you want to give the money back, they want to have a little extra security to make sure that you have permission to do that. So it's the same form. You go back to ServiceNow and you can request a QuickPay refund account. Again, the lovely Aventri at asu.edu has some how to process refunds with QuickPay. And once again, the lovely Steve has done a step-by-step process with YouTube to tell you how to do that. And it's makes it very easy to use after you have your refund account, of course. Now, when do you use, or how do you use it? So remember, when you're setting up to require any payments, you go to fee and payments. First, you have to provide what's being paid for, and sometimes it's you're requesting money depending on what their category is. Sometimes it's something that you've done in agenda and options. Okay, maybe you're selling t-shirts. The event is free, but you're selling t-shirts and you set up that information in options merchandise, right? So let's assume you've set your price points, but now you've got to say, how am I accepting payments? You go to payment settings. Okay, and for this event, I've decided I'm accepting checks, but let me add a payment method. Okay, well, let's see. Oh, look at all these payment methods I could take. Oh, I'll take credit cards. No, remember, not credit card. Scroll down to QuickPay, click QuickPay. QuickPay is our credit card. Once you do that, then you're going to find your payment processor, and you will see all of the payment processors that ASU has. Okay, so you want to find yours. And if it's a new one, you're in luck. It's probably going to be one of the last ones. Unfortunately, we have no way to organize this in any way other than the first account that was created is at the top and the last created account was created at the bottom. So what I'll do is, for right now, I'm just going to use this. I'm not really going to set it up. And there's all kinds of information on how to get this set up as you go through that lovely video that Steve has provided. But this is one of the big ones, right? This is one of the things that we get lots of questions on, and one of the errors that you can get when you're using QuickPay. You don't want to have any of these clicked, all right? This information is collected a different way once you get to the QuickPay site. So that's one of the big sticking points that people get when they get into QuickPay. So that covers on how to get your account, how do we use it, and of course, how do you get a refund? One other thing I wanted to mention, something that we see all the time. Back to event info. Or something that I see all the time, I should say, is just a quick reminder that people get, especially after they've made multiple events, they don't know how to find their events. They don't know how to look in their folders. They're not sure how it moves forward. You can do a couple things. You can look for a keyword up here. You can look for the 6-digit number that's right here. And or you can go into your, clicking the hamburger, those three pink lines, and you can go into view all events, and that will find your folder again, okay? And you can find the folder that you think it might have to, if you're in a big college group or a big unit, you may have to look in lots of different folders to find your event. That can be a little confusing and a little frustrating. So you want to make sure that whoever is managing your folders has them in a way that is logical. Okay, but remember, you can also come up here. You can use your keyword or your key number. You can also look and see what the last 6 items were that you have looked at using this reminder button. Okay, this is the recently viewed. Okay, that's just a quick review on just a little quick refresher as we come back to using Aventri at full strength. Do we have any questions? And I don't know if you saw that in chat, but Steve did remind everybody that at thunderbird.asu.edu is also a DMARC compliant domain. It does not need one of those little extra A's.
Okay, thanks, Laura. I think let's just move on to our next topic. And that's the video on demand in virtual event platform. If anyone did have any questions on Laura's and it covers at any time, feel free to put a message in the chat.
Yeah, we just got a quick one, actually. Marcus says that he had a reply error with the little a in the reply to text space.
And you put an a.asu.edu, Marcus?
That for that, you should not get you shouldn't get an error if you don't have an A, or even if you do have an A. Either way, that one doesn't really care.
Yeah, it's true in the reply too. It's you do not need the a dot in the reply to.
If that comes up as an issue, Marcus, please reach out to us and take a screenshot so we can see that.
Mm-hmm. Or we can arrange a Zoom meeting where you can show us what you're seeing. That can also be an easier way for us to diagnose this. Okay, moving forward. So again, we're talking about the virtual event platform, and for standard ASU users, you can use a virtual event platform with external technology only. If you want to use Aventri's built-in webinar and meeting systems, that is something you have to contract for. But there is a way to add a video on demand to your virtual lobby, to your virtual event under the current terms of the contract with Aventri, because it uses external technology. Now, what I'm talking about is a way to have a session that has a video linked to it that can be viewed at any time during the virtual event, whether it's a multi-day or a single day. You just want to have some videos that your users can view at any time. So first I'm going to start by getting the link to my video. And I'm going to create a new session to my event. And I'm going to do it for today. This is the day of my event. And I am going to set a start time. Let's see, I'm going to start for actually after the session because what I'm able to show you. No, I want to do it now. So for that, over at 2:30. Okay. Title of my video. And down here, so I have enabled the virtual feature on this event registration. This is why I can see this section. If I had not turned virtual on the virtual tab, I would not see this, but I want to turn this on. And again, you should be using external technology. The et cetera of Zoom, WebEx, et cetera, can be a YouTube video link. Okay, I don't need any host for this, again, because external technology, and that's all I have to do to see a button at the scheduled start time. But there's one other thing I have to do so that after the end time, a button is still available for users to click. What I have to do is go back to the virtual tab under recordings, and I'm going to add that same link to the video to that session. So here's my pull down of sessions. This is number 2. I can leave this title as whatever pops up by default, or I like to keep things simple by simply mimicking what I've got at the top there and hit save. Now, after I've added it, I still have to activate it. Hit save and stay. So now if I was to go to my virtual event lobby, so here we are. Because my start time is our current time, we are active, I can now click this and start playing the video direct from wherever it's hosted. Mine are on YouTube. You can host the video on YouTube or Vimeo. Now, after the end time has passed, then that join button changes to a recording button. But again, it's a link to the same video. Okay, so do I have to set a date and a time? I would recommend it. If you want a series of videos that people can access anytime, set it early on your event date so all the buttons are active. If I had set this for a later time, say that 2 o'clock time, I was just going to put this join button would be great. So if you're trying to do a video that you don't want to, say, premiere or unveil until a certain point in your virtual event, use that start time as the time when that join button will be turned on. After it passes the end time, it will then change from a join button to a recordings button. Never gonna give you up, never gonna let you down, never gonna run around and desert you. All right, did I just rickroll the entire user group? I guess I did. All right, so that is how you can set up an on-demand, you're welcome, on-demand video in the virtual event platform. A nice, quick and easy demo. All right, having a little fun with you today. Any questions on that? Any questions on video on demand or the virtual platform in general? All right, well, hearing none, no questions, I think we go on to handing it back to Laura to chat about all the features that are available in the attendee profiles.
Yeah, that makes me laugh every time, Steve. Okay, So we're back to the back to school event that I created. So we take a look at a few things. Wanted to remind you that there's all of these great back end tools for you to use as the event planner. They're not forward facing. There are things that you can do to get data for yourself as well as to assist in some customer service issues that might arise as people are registering as you're going through or approaching your event. So how do we get to that back end that I'm talking about? You can do it one of two ways. The first way, as I'm going to show you, is if you scroll over registrations and you go to registrant list. The registrant list will pop up just as a general format. Remember, you have the opportunity to come in here and make your registrant list look and feel just the way you want to by adding a new view and adding columns and moving them around just the way you want them. But we don't need them for this. For this, we just need the default view. And what we're going to do is we're going to look at a couple of things. First of all, if you come in here and you see, gosh, what are all those test registrations? Oh no, I forgot to turn my event live before I sent out the invitation. This has happened to me more than once. I know it's happened to many of you because I see the tickets that go to Aventri people, so I know I'm not alone. So what do you do about the people who have registered in the meantime because now you've turned it on and nobody else is going to get this little test message that appears at the top of their registration? But how do we fix this, right? So I'm going to come in and I'm going to click on this individual, right? And I have an opportunity up here for Elsa to convert this to a live registration. I'm going to click that. And is it going to say, are you sure you want to make that a live registration? And I'm going to say, yes, I do. And now, if I close the window, you can see that Elsa is now live rather than test. I can go through and I can do that for the rest of them. If you don't have a whole big smack of people to update, you can also ask Aventri to make all of those registrations live for you. But it is an ability that we have to do ourselves, and it's not hard. So again, super easy. You just go into the registration conqueree number and you come all the way up to the top. I sometimes, even myself, forget that it's this little teeny tiny line up here. I look for something in these buttons. I used to remember it's the very teeny top of this, and you just convert it to live, and it's going to ask you that question, and then it's done. And now they're live. So that's a super easy thing to do if you have some test registrations. Now, some of the other things that can happen is you can find, if you're looking for incompletes, right? Jean-Luc Picard has an incomplete record, okay? How do I find all of those incompletes? Well, one of the things you can do is what I just did, right? You can change the filter from the default filter, which is mostly confirmed and or canceled registrations. And instead you can look for incomplete. And that'll tell you all the incompletes, okay? Now you can come in here with the incomplete and you can convert this one to a complete registration as well, okay? Right now the attendee is incomplete and will not show up in reports. You can convert them and it'll say, are you sure you want to convert this person? Yes, I am. And ta-da, the person is converted. Okay. So you can convert someone from tests. Sorry. You can convert someone to tests to live. You can also convert someone from incomplete to live. So that's super helpful. I also told you that there was another way you could find how to get to this list. And I just want to remind you that you can also do it via summary report. A lot of people just do that automatically. and you just go here to total registrations. You could also have come in and looked at incompletes here. Just a reminder that this is a great overview when you're looking for specific information. You want to come in here, and each of these lines are their own reports. So you can also do it that way. You also have the options to go to reports and functions. And you also have a registrant list here, an incomplete report here, and all of the rest of them. Okay. I'm going to go back to my registrant list. Okay. And I want to remind you that there's all kinds of things that you can do, right? I'm going to go back into mine. All right. I selected check when I was given a choice of the way I wanted to play. The event planner actually gave check as an option. So we get asked this question a lot, right? Quick pay will show you that they've paid. But once you get the check, there's nothing that Aventri does automatically, because how does it know that you've received the check? So what do? Well, you can add a transaction. And we do encourage you, by the way, to get in here and to go into the conferee numbers and to really look at all the things and all the possibilities, especially when you're in test. That gives you an opportunity to practice some things and see what you can do. All right. And one of the things that you can do is you can add a transaction. Right? So let's say that you have received a check for this individual, and what are you going to do? Well, this is a payment situation. So I'm going to click payment. Okay. And the transaction amount was $5. How was that payment received? It was received as a check payment. And here in the notes, I can say, check received on 9/15, and it was number 0023. Okay, $4. Okay, sorry, let's try it this way. Okay, now if I save and stay, save and exit. All right, so now when I look at the balances, all right, it shows that it recorded the $5 check fee. Okay. You can also come in and you can edit some selections. If there had been, if there were some selections for an agenda, some classes, you could come in here and you could update those if you needed to. If someone said, hey, I don't understand how to change my, I selected this class, but now I'm not taking that class. I am confused. You can go in using that conferee number and you can change that information too. This is a really powerful tool for you on the back end to resolve customer service issues, to also to get in to clarify information about your attendee if you need to. And we really encourage you to get in here and take a look at it. Any questions? Steve, anything you wanted to add to that?
No. Just that there's just a lot packed in an attendee profile, all the different ways to send emails and check for history, both for what you're doing in there and what your registrants have done in there. So I think recently we've seen some support tickets from people who said the confirmation emails reported as not being received, at least. We're not sure about sent, but that's how you can check if the email has been received, is to come into the attendee's profile. And at the bottom, you can see the history of emails that have been sent. So if you're not seeing an email being sent to that attendee, then that's something to check the programming of the emails, or perhaps send a report. But if the email is being sent as reported by the system, and the person getting it is not receiving, then that's a follow-up with, I think, the attendee as to, this is the email it was sent to. Could you check your spam folder? That kind of thing.
And you can send it again if you need to. Super easy to do that. You just have to come in and you have to pick the email you want to send them.
Mhm. And it
And
can be a triggered email or a custom email. So if you needed to make a special email to send to people, and you choose who gets the email, you can do that. You can create it you create a custom email in the scheduled emails section, and then you can use it as a custom here by doing that. The other button I use a lot here is the generate invoice. Sometimes we get questions from, we get calls for people, organizations who someone has gone to one of your events, and somehow our number is a number to call if there are issues. So we get a call from the business office of that organization, and they have not received the receipt. And with a little help, we can usually find out who that person is and what they are. And this is what we do. We look up their attendee profile, and we can use the email feature here. Email feature here to send this to their business office if they've given us an email address to send. Again, just a reminder in Aventri, it says invoice on the button, but it's an invoice if they haven't paid you. It's a receipt if they have. So it's the same button for both purposes. And also you have the option of just printing this out and sending it via a direct email. So that's another handy feature I use there. And then the only other thing to clarify, and I'm sorry, I apologize, Laura, if you did say it, maybe I just missed it, is when you're in the attendee profile, if you're changing the attendee questions, answers to questions, you can do that under attendee info. But if you need to change things like the category the person is in, or the subcategory, or need to apply a discount code to a person, that's under selection and fees. The category, because the category can have a price attached to it, that's why it's under selection and fees. And if this was an event that had sessions that people selected or even just displayed, you're displaying it on everywhere. That's just also where you could go and change their selections. So there's just a lot in attendee profiles, and we just wanted to point that out. But I think we've reached the end of our demonstrations. And that's time again to just open it up to any questions from the hive mind who have joined us today. Questions you have about anything Aventri or event related, either of what we've been talking about today, or just any issues or questions that you have been facing down in the system. I don't know. I could pull up Rick again and have him play until we get a question, or force everyone out of the room. I'm not sure which would be the.
we take questions about anything, folks.
We'll take questions about anything. If you're too shy to ask, you don't have a question now, or you're watching this video later, because again, we will share this video with the user group. We'll post it in our Slack channel. You can always send a question to us at aventri@asu.edu if you want to schedule some time with Laura or I to go over an issue you're having, or help you set up an event registration or something else in Aventri. Happy to do that. Again, we do have a lot of support pages available on our aventri@asu.edu page. Always happy to set up an office hour or consultation with any of y'all. So, all right, looks like everyone's heading for the door. So we'll give you 8 minutes back to your day. Thanks for coming, and we will see you next month. Again, if you're interested in our webinars, keep an eye on the Slack channel. We will announce when registration site is open for that with the schedule for this term's webinars. So bye, everybody.